In the midst of the threats coming on between the United States and the DPRK, U.S. President Donald Trump felt it was appropriate to carry out a threat of military intervention against Venezuela just the other day at the White House. He did this before Rex Tillerson and Nikki Haley.
We have many options for Venezuela. And by the way, I'm not going to rule out a military option. We have many options for Venezuela. This is our neighbor. This is, we're all over the world, and we have troops all over the world in places that are very, very far away. Venezuela is not very far away, and the people are suffering, and they're dying. We have many options for Venezuela, including a possible military option if necessary.
Now, this news is coming off of the revelation that one of the far-right groups in Venezuela, the ones backed by the United States, are threatening to split over the issue of whether or not to engage in the upcoming Venezuelan elections. The far-right party Vente Venezuela said it would leave the main opposition coalition, the Democratic Unity Roundtable, unless other parties joined a boycott of the December 10 regional elections. In the recent months, the member parties of the MUD have been sharply divided over whether or not to participate in that vote. The division has only deepened since the allegations surfaced of possible fraud in an election last month. However, as of Thursday, the bulk of the MUD parties had agreed to run candidates in December. Basically, what they're facing is a split in their group as to whether or not to try to force Maduro out before the elections or to use the elections to force him out. Of course, this is all very telling considering that they swear up and down that the elections themselves are fixed, and that's how Nicolas Maduro has remained in power. Of course, it's one of those situations where they make an accusation against the country, specifically against the leadership, but can't seem to, really keep their story straight. Now, this is coming off of the recent failed coup attempt in the country where a few members of the military had attacked or tried to take over a military base, thinking that the rest of the military would go along with them. And this, of course, as we saw, this didn't happen. Now keep in mind, we've got this big split happening in the far-right US-backed opposition, and we have a failed coup. So it would seem like maybe there's a bit of desperation coming out on the side of the US-backed forces, that now they've already made the attempt to manipulate the elections, and it hasn't worked. They've tried a military coup, and that failed miserably. Is maybe the threat of a U.S. invasion of Venezuela, maybe their way of essentially admitting that their plans have all failed up until now. And now technically their plans have failed for the most part. They haven't managed to force Nicolas Maduro and the Bolivarian Revolution out of power. They have, however, been very successful in damaging the country economically, and that's been a tremendous success since the beginning, given the nature of the one commodity economy that Venezuela has. But perhaps even they're running their limits in that degree, and there's not really much more than they can do before it becomes very overt that the United States is interfering in the affairs of Venezuela. I mean, it already is to anybody who will think critically, but it will become so obvious that even those who are in absolute denial of it won't be able to deny it any longer. So maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is a bad thing. Does it show a crack in the imperialist wall that perhaps the anti-imperialist forces might use? Or is this a threat of a much more dangerous escalation? Only time will tell.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.